Hello, this is Howard, the Teaserking, coming to you with week ending 10-15 games. Week 7 in college, week 6 in the pros. This video will be on the college games. One thing I noticed in college that's different than the pros are lively dogs. In the pros, if you get a real good dog, it doesn't matter. Like last weekend, I had Denver against New England. Denver was just simply using the trend I would have used on Indy against New England with Manning against Brady. And I took Manning, and they were getting blown out, and Manning walks them back. They lose by 10, and we're getting 13. And that you can take to the bank most of the time. But what I noticed in college, especially these big games, Ohio State, Nebraska, there was LSU, Florida, there was South Carolina, Georgia, and these games weren't close. These games become blowouts, and it's harder to take the dog in these games where you would in the pros. I mean, you get a live dog like a Peyton Manning, a Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers. It's automatic. They're not going to get blown out. And for some reason in college, it's so much more emotional, and the home team tends to blow out more. Occasionally the road team, but generally I notice it's the home team. So you just got to be very careful taking a road dog in a big game in college. I notice you can get away with the road dog that's against a weak favorite. Syracuse Pitt. Syracuse is what I call a weak favorite. In other words, they probably shouldn't even be the favorite. They're not that strong of a team. And there's a lot of teams in college I see like that, even in the pros. Generally like Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, those teams tend to be they never cover when they're favored. Where in college, that's what I look for. That's one of my keys to betting. Will be looking and playing against a weak favorite. If I can take a road dog and win with them, like I had Pitt last week. But generally, in college, it's very hard to trust the road dog unless it's a very good team against the kind of weaker team. Just an FYI, because I was shocked that Ohio State scored 63 on Nebraska, and South Carolina killed Georgia, and things like that. So that's what I noticed. It's a little bit more home team friendly in college. I don't know if it's the refs, it's just the crowd's all drunk. The players are so much emotional that it just looks like that. So here's a list this week. What I do is I take the games and I break them out into, let me look for not good road dogs, but good dogs, and let me look for weak favorites to play against. So I'm either playing against weak teams or taking strong teams that I think will be good. And I go down the list, and the first game I see is Navy against Central Michigan. And I go, Central Michigan's not that strong of a favorite. Yes, they won at Iowa, but then they lose to the MAC teams. So is it Iowa's that bad or Central that good? Well, Central's not that good, not since they had Dan Lefevre and Brian Kelly coaching them. So I look at that and I get a live dog there, and I go, Navy looks like a live dog. They were at 3 or 4, and they're down to 1.5 now. So as long as I can get more than a touchdown, I'll take Navy. But Navy's a very good team. They play that running game and a good defense. And they won at Air Force last week, which is good. I know they lost to Notre Dame and Penn State pretty badly, but this is Central Michigan, not those teams. So that's what I mean. There's a weak favorite in Central, a strong dog in Navy. I like Navy there. Now here's a game that I'm really confused on. Is Michigan State laying 9.5 to Iowa. I don't know who Iowa is. They play such a weak schedule. They lose to Iowa State at home. They lose to Central at home. Then they beat Minnesota, which is not that good of a team either. So that's a game where Michigan State's 10-point favorite. I look at it, Michigan State's a weak favorite. They don't have an offense this year. The quarterback's decent, and their receivers are terrible, and they have one running back. The defense is excellent, but it's usually a low-scoring game, and especially with Iowa, they're usually tight games. There's a game I would lean to take Iowa with, getting the 15, 16 points because it's a lot of points, but I'm confused on who is Iowa. This is the problem in college, is the weak exhibition schedule, I'll call it. That first 3 or 4 weeks, the non-conference games. Yes, Michigan plays Alabama, but generally they're playing Louisiana, Monroe. The Big Ten's playing all the MAC teams. All the other teams are playing the Sun Belt Conference, the Division II, the MAC teams. You get no real look of these teams, especially when they play the Division II teams. I mean, there's really hard to get a grasp on it. So that's what I look at. Now, probably the strongest game on the week is Kansas State laying 7 to Iowa State. You can take Kansas State laying 1. I don't understand this spread. This spread should be 20 easily. This team went into Oklahoma and beat them handily, and they killed Miami, and they just killed Kansas last week in a rivalry game, and that's what they do. But I like Kansas State. I think they're a top 5 team without a question. They destroy Miami and go into Oklahoma and win. Okay, what am I missing here? What's wrong with them? They got a very good quarterback. They got a strong defense. This is one of the highest rated games I have this weekend. Take Kansas State laying 1. I look at the trends. There's no injuries for Kansas State. That's real. And the trend is they always seem to beat Iowa State. Iowa State's okay, but they're nothing special. The only reason they beat TCU last week's quarterback was out at TCU. So they started a kid who's never played before. So, of course, they beat him. But generally, Iowa State's not terrible. They're not old Iowa State, but Kansas State is so much better. You're laying a point. You've probably got a 95% chance of winning. Kansas State's trends, they're very strong with the number. They're very strong as a road favorite. They went into Oklahoma and won, so it's not like they're just playing all these games at home against weak teams. So I look at Kansas State to easily win this game and cover. I really can't understand this spread. Let's see, another game that now here's where I like a dog, is Utah State and San Jose State. I'm really high on both these teams this year, and Louisiana Tech. These 3 are hot and covering and covering and covering. The way Utah State played BYU and Utah, they should be favored in this game against San Jose State. They're getting 3.5. They were both in the Mountain West, or the WAC, I think, last year. So they play each other a lot, and it's usually a close game. I like Utah State 9.5 points. They have the defense. They got a great coach. I know San Jose State's playing well, and I like them this year. I like them a lot, and I'll be playing them a lot. That's the teams I like. And but in this game here, here I think I can trust the road dog. It's not at Georgia. It's not at LSU where the crowd's frenzied. This is just San Jose State, Utah State. This is where you can take the road dog. But you can't take it in these bigger games. And here's a game that's really confusing to me. Is West Virginia is laying 3.5 to Texas Tech. Are you kidding me? Another game where I think the spread is way too low. Okay, they played at Texas and they killed them basically. I have a hard time understanding. Texas Tech's not that good. Oklahoma just killed them last week by 21, and West Virginia's better than Oklahoma, I believe. Certainly, they're going to score a lot of points. In the teaser, you get 2.5, so they can even get upset and lose by 2. They're not going to get blown out, and Texas is much better than Texas Tech. So, I don't think Texas Tech's anything. I really haven't, they haven't played anybody. They played the one game against Texas and lost, so I don't see anything with Texas Tech. They beat Iowa State. It's the best team they played. This is one of these teams that played these Division II teams and these weak Division I teams. So again, I can't understand West Virginia being the dog, or being a 3.5 favorite. I would say the blowout of the week is going to be Florida against Vandy. The spread's moved from 7 to 8.5. I think when you look at the history, Florida always beats Vanderbilt. Florida seems to be very strong. They won at Tennessee, and they beat. They won another big game at Texas A&M. They've gone on the road and won. They beat LSU. It's going to give them a lot of confidence. And my biggest concern in college is, will they be flat the next week? They had a big game against LSU. They beat them. They make LSU look terrible on offense. I'm not sure how good LSU is. I thought they'd be a lot better. So, again, they win as a home dog against LSU, emotional game. This is what I worry about, but I don't think Florida can let down. They got Georgia coming up. They got South Carolina coming up. They can't afford to lose this game. This is a very easy game for them against Vanderbilt, a team they always beat, like they always beat Kentucky. You're only laying 2.5 points here. Key to get it under a field goal when you can. But I like Florida here. I just find that they'll, even if they let down, they have a strong defense. And I believe when you have that strong defense, you're less apt to have the letdown. And maybe the quarterback, see, when you have a good quarterback, he might have a bad game. He might be a little flat, throw some interceptions. But when your basis is a very strong defense and a very good running game, which is what Florida is now, it's very easy for them. The defense is going to be there. You run the ball, well, the running's still going to be there. The matchup with Vandy, they don't have that tough of a defense, so I look for Florida to go on. Alabama is laying 21 to Missouri. Missouri's got a lot of injuries, but Alabama's going to kill them. Alabama just is too much. Their defense, they'll shut them out. Missouri doesn't show me anything. They barely beat Central Florida. They're a little better at home, but Alabama will just blow them out. I know Alabama played Ole Miss, but you can't be a 30-point favorite in the SEC. Even Mississippi, I mean, they're not that bad. Mississippi State, they have a lot of talent. They're still SEC teams. I thought those spreads on the Mississippi game was way too high. And they still beat them by, 14, 16 points. But here you're laying 15. They'll win probably by 30 over Missouri here. But Missouri just is not there. I mean, Alabama will just methodically do what they do. They'll have a couple of defensive scores, and they'll run the ball down their throat. Fresno State's at Boise, laying 7. Boise's laying 7. This is a game that Boise always wins and always wins easily. I don't like Southwick, but he seemed to play better last week, but he's against Southern Miss, who's terrible this year. Their coach went to North Carolina, and you can see North Carolina's scoring, and their quarterback moved on to the NFL. So Southern Miss is not that good. I don't know what to do with Boise. I love Boise. I've made a barrel full of money with Boise, but this year I can't honestly play them. It's probably a good game to watch. I don't have a clue. I think Boise wins with their defense at home against Fresno. Fresno's got a good quarterback. They'll move the ball. But this is not... I just think either too many losses on offense and defense for Boise and got drafted. The quarterback, he's getting it, I think, but I don't think he's there. So I cautioned you about Boise this week. We'll see how they are. Maybe the quarterback's getting it and he'll start lighting up 40 points a game like Boise does. But I think Boise wins the game close with their defense, their running game. And hopefully Southwick doesn't have too many turnovers. But it's a game to watch. Be careful with it. I'm not playing it. I'm watching it. But you want to take notes to see if Boise's getting it. So now you come to South Carolina, LSU. LSU's laying 3 points. This is a game that I think South Carolina in 9 is good, but I can't play it after the way these dogs have been playing and getting blown out. It's very hard. Now, they do have what I like. They have the old ball coach. You got to have the coach. They got a great defense. But it's at LSU. It's at night, and LSU off of a loss could have a big game in them. South Carolina had a big game with Georgia. They could be flat here. I'm not saying they will be. Now, normally, if this is an NFL game, I'd take South Carolina in 9, and it would be an easy win. But here, this is the game that I circle and say, off the top of my head, I like South Carolina in 9, but I can't bet it because it's an SEC. It's a home game off of a loss, LSU. This is do or die for them. They have to win the game if they were going to win their division. And If they can't win here, they're not going to. Alabama, I think, will kill them. So this is critical, but this is a game where I respect the team off a loss at home in the SEC. So I'm going to watch it. I hope South Carolina 9's good, but I can't play it. And this is the warning. I'll give you a game that's an obscure one. You like these. The Air Force is laying 3.5 at Wyoming. Wyoming's been covering the spread, and they've been playing very well this year. Air Force has been disappointing. They played Michigan close, and they go lose to Navy last week. They lost, I think, to Vegas, which is unbelievable. So I like Wyoming as a home dog, getting 8.5 against Air Force. They see them all the time, so their offense isn't anything major. They play them well. They can score. So I look for Wyoming to win the game outright, or at least it'll be a field goal game. You get 8.5. Should be a good game. Now, I'm not saying these are good picks. I'm just going to give you my insights on a few other games. You have Temple at Connecticut. Connecticut's laying 6. This is a weak favorite. Connecticut is not scoring. They're a very weak team this year. Temple won a big game last week. I can't remember who they beat as a home dog. But this is my point. Connecticut can't beat anybody by 11.5, 12 points. And Temple's not that bad of a team. So I would keep your eye on Temple and the points in this game. Also, Virginia's laying 2 to Maryland. Maryland's covering a lot. Virginia's another weak favorite. And I look for Virginia's laying 2. You get Maryland in 8. I like Maryland in 8 there. I think they can win the game. But certainly Virginia's not a strong team and not a good favorite. Maryland's been playing pretty well. BYU's laying 6 to Oregon State. It's a very tough game. I would have taken Oregon State all day, but Mannion's out their quarterback. So now here's college. You got their backup quarterback. Supposedly he's a good kid out of California. Who knows? This is his first game against the top 5 defense, BYU, at BYU, who covers at home like 90%. So it's a very hard game. I would think that in a normal backup quarterback, I would take BYU even in this game because of their track record covering so much at home. But be careful because Oregon State's got an excellent defense, great coach. They won at UCLA, so it's a tough game. I don't think it's as simple as we think. I think Oregon State will put up a fight. They'll just run the ball and play short passes, but it's hard to take a kid who's never started before, and he goes on the road and faces a terrific defense in BYU. But the way BYU played Utah State, I look for a low-scoring game here. Probably best to take the under in this game. I don't like getting into overs and unders, but this would probably fit as an under. And I think I covered it. The last game we're talking about is Stanford, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's laying 7. And my hunch on this game is to take Notre Dame and lay 1 point. Normally, like I said, I'd take the dog. I don't like Stanford's quarterback that much that he's going to go on the road and win. But yes, they beat SC, but on the road against Washington, he really didn't do anything. They should never have lost the game, but their score was a pick 6. And Notre Dame's playing nice. They beat Michigan State with just as good a defense as Stanford, and they beat Michigan, who with Denard, well, he's such a choker in big games, it's crazy. But I think Notre Dame at home with their defense. I think it's a low-scoring game, and I think I think Notre Dame -1 wins the game. It'd be something like 20-10 or something like that. But I can't trust Stanford in the points in this one. They have beaten Notre Dame the last 3 or 4 times in a row, so the matchup was there, but that's with Andrew Luck. And this is the problem with college that most people have when you look at trends. When you have a player like Andrew Luck, you bet the hell out of him, and you bet him, and you bet him, and he wins, and he wins, and he wins. And they had great trends with Andrew Luck, but now he's graduated. Now the other quarterback, he's not quite Andrew Luck. He's not a winner like Andrew Luck. If Andrew Luck's getting 7 points in this game, I'll drive to Vegas and bet the game. I'll walk to Vegas to bet the game. It would be a joke. That would be a lock of life. But that's not what you have, and so with the other quarterback, it makes it difficult. He really hasn't shown anything on the road. They did beat USC, getting a lot of turnovers, putting pressure and running the ball down their throat. They're going to run and hit the tight ends against Notre Dame, but I just think Notre Dame has a much better defense than USC, and I just think that I just got a feeling, and I got to trust my instincts. Notre Dame laying 1, I think, wins. I just think Notre Dame's going to win this game. I think Brian Kelly out-coaches the Stanford coach. Harbaugh's there. I take Stanford all day with luck, but Harbaugh's not there anymore. So I like Notre Dame laying the points. Well, anyway, this is my college for Week 7. I wish you good luck. Please give me some questions or comments. I'll be happy to answer them. There's a lot of good games I like this week. There's 5 or 6 more. That's my problem. I can analyze too many games, and I can't pick 20 games, but I got 20 games on this week I could pick. It's funny, some weeks you can't find 5 good games, and you press and you pick them, and it's hard. You just want them, and then there's weeks like this one where everything's there. It's like that one pro week I had a few weeks ago, and I picked 8 winners out of 9, and I didn't realize the Vikings were as strong as they were because I didn't think Ponder was that good. But just some weeks they stick out, and you can just pick winners easily. And some weeks the matchups aren't there, the underdogs aren't there, and you have losers. So that's the difference. This college week will be strong. I'll pick a lot of winners. There's more winners I could pick that I didn't even bring up. Well, have a great week. I wish you good luck. I'm sure these will hit at least 90% this week would be my guess. I'll have 1 or 2 losers. I can't figure out which ones, and please forgive me for not picking 100%. All right, have a great weekend. This is Howard, the Teaser King. Again, go to the site, www.teaserking.com. Send me some emails, questions, comments, whatever you like. All right, have a nice day.